So if anybody who hasn't watched Logan, Logan is amazing, high energy. He was a big supporter. You did week 7 for us, and they did week 132. So there was a huge gap in there. And I think today's 160 or 161. So um, you've been on a few times for us. So Logan is the founder of and CEO of Aerotas, which provides human in the loop drone data processing for surveyors. He founded Aerotas in 2014 and has helped thousands of surveyors, tens of thousands probably at this point, get the highest quality data out of their drone programs. Prior to founding Aerotas, Logan was a statistician in the financial service industry. Holy moly, Logan! Logan is a certified mapping scientist with ASPRS and holds an MBA from Harvard Business School. He is recognized as an industry expert. He regularly speaks at survey conferences. You're going to see him at the WestFed conference coming up in March, and probably a couple others, I'm sure. Um, and he writes in numerous land surveying publications, which I will say, as an editor of the Nevada Traverse, I have not seen a Logan article. So
Well, we've got to
I'm
get that
requesting
fixed
one.
one of these days.
I know, I'm requesting one now. So I always appreciate your time. I love your energy. I love your presentations, and um, feel free to talk about everything. I know you have another webinar coming up this week, so I want you to talk about that as well. But um, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Absolutely. We got a lot of topic, and I'm glad you like the energy because I had an extra cup of coffee just for the sake of things to
It's
keep
ready to
things
go.
going.
Oh,
No, but I'm actually this one I'm a little bit excited and a little bit nervous about because on the one hand I do a lot of presentations, I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm a huge tech geek, but this is actually my first time talking about AI. Now, to be clear, it's my first time presenting about
there
AI.
you go. There you go.
I am I have used an awful lot of AI tools since the very early days. So I use AI every single day in a wide variety of applications, and I have a lot that I'm really excited to share with you guys. But at the same time, I actually really want your feedback, especially having worked with Trent before and Mentoring Mondays, which I love. I really want your questions. I always say that and I always mean it, but I like extra mean it that I want your questions and feedback on this because that's quite frankly how I put together good content that you guys want to hear because I can put together what I know and try and present it. But ultimately, my goal is to really try and present valuable information about AI, what it means for surveyors, what it's good at, how it may or may not change the world and the industry over the next 10 years, and the ways where it probably won't change the industry because it's a little bit weird. So that's what we're talking today. So everyone, let's see. We do have the chat thing. Oh my gosh, I don't use Zoom enough. I use all of the different things.
I know they're all different. Down on the bottom, or actually probably because you're on the top now, there'll be a chat box. But I can I can help you out if there's questions that come up along the way.
Yeah, I think the
I'll
way that I
handle
hit present with Zoom did something. Okay, yes, now I found out where the button is. So yes, use the meeting chat or unmute yourself and chime in at any point because we're going to be talking about all of the different ways I use AI. I was going to do a couple of demos even of some of the cool things that AI can do in mapping and surveying as we go through here. And hopefully we can get you something valuable out of it.
Love it.
So yeah, I'll start with just that little bit of background. So I'm a tech geek, right? I mean, that it's part of my background that you just mentioned. I actually came into aerial surveying from statistics as opposed to the actual surveying. So I did a lot of the data analysis, and honestly, that's the part that I really enjoy. I enjoy working with AI in different ways and putting all of this stuff together. And it led us into our company. We do photogrammetry as Trent mentioned, if you're not working with Aerotas for any and all of your aerial surveying needs, you should be. But that's not the point of all of this. The point is to talk a little bit about AI. Now, I'm going to start off by actually trying to address a weirdly obvious question of what the heck is AI? Because the word AI has gotten so broadened with marketing fluff and hype. Someone showed me the other day, there is a toothbrush, an electric toothbrush that you can buy at Target, and it has a little powered by AI sticker on it. And it's like, It's a toothbrush. What the hell do you mean powered by AI? You clearly have a very different meaning of AI than you do. And actually, that's the reason I bring that up is because AI has grown to be such a broad term that in some ways it's meaningless. Like any sort of smart computer program, even if it's one from 20 years ago, people are saying it's AI, it's AI. Now, AI is very real. There is some unbelievable cutting edge technology, but at least for the sake of trying to identify these things, I want to try and put a little bit more context around it, at least when I'm using these different terms. Starting with things just like algorithms. What is an algorithm? A set of rules to be followed in a calculation. The reason I start with that is because algorithms have been around for a very, 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 very long time. Honestly, since before computers even. But algorithms are basically just complicated formulas, right? That you can use in processing any sort of data. Hell, any digital data collector that you have will be using algorithms. Algorithms, in my opinion, are not AI. When using it to even do like surveying analysis or mapping analysis, look at this pixel. If it is green, if it is surrounded by other green pixels, and it's a shape of at least this shape and size, then call it a tree. That's an algorithm. That's not AI. Don't get me wrong, they can be incredibly smart. The whole internet up until, a couple of years ago is powered primarily by algorithms, not the kind of AI boom that we're hearing about today. Not like that's just kind of basic algorithms. Then a few years ago, we started getting something else that is called machine learning. Those are systems that learn from data rather than following explicit instructions. Believe it or not, this is still not quite the AI boom that we're seeing today, the kind of broader general intelligence that ChatGPT, for example, has. But machine learning is the idea of the best way to think of it is very specific pattern recognition, that you feed it 10,000 photos, 100 of which are pictures of a bird, and it can do really well at finding what a picture of a bird is and ignoring the pictures of other things. But it's still not actual artificial intelligence. It's not generalizable. It's very, very, very specific. It's smarter, and this is where you might hear things like neural networks are oftentimes more on like a machine learning category rather than an AI category. So it's kind of the next step. It's a little bit more complicated, but still not proper artificial intelligence. Whereas proper artificial intelligence, well, I say proper, these definitions, I should even take a step back and acknowledge these definitions are fluid, right? What you're hearing is my best ability around me. Not everyone will agree. Not every experts will have the same definitions as me, which is part of why I'm trying to give a little bit of context. But AI, like actual AI today, what has driven the insane boom in tech stocks and investments in data centers and national infrastructure and NVIDIA chips and all of that is the broader concept of getting these machines to carry out tasks in ways that we consider actually smart, that almost look human, that actually demonstrate what we would call intelligence, right? It's artificial intelligence. Algorithms are smart, but they're not intelligent like a human. They're not broad. They're not generalizable. So that's kind of the definition when I say AI. I want to mean this actual like new AI, not just smart algorithms or smart computer software. The reason this is so important and why I'm starting with this definition is because AI, where the industry, the AI industry, the tech industry, is investing, I mean, literally trillions of dollars, is all around this last one. It's all around artificial intelligence. And algorithms and like the underlying algorithms and machine learning are kind of like riding on the coattails a little bit. They're a little different. And also, we see a lot of software that claims that it's powered by AI, and it's not actually powered by AI. It's just powered by smart people writing smart algorithms, which is a good thing. There's a lot of value in there, but a little different than AI. And within AI, there are actually, once we get into AI, there are multiple versions of AI that we can talk about. The big one that everyone should be aware of, that is the most common, is what are called LLMs, large language models. They're designed to understand, generate, and manipulate human language. For any of you that have ever used ChatGPT, That is an LLM. That is the big one. They are language-based models, language in, language out. I'm not going to get into the actual architecture of how they work in terms of like the next token prediction stuff, at least not in this. There's plenty of other YouTube videos about that. But it's the idea that they are language. You can ask them questions. You interact with them like a human, generally through text or often through voice now as well, voice to text and text to voice. It goes back and forth. But it's all about language. And this is really, really, really smart stuff. You can ask it questions, it answers it usually correctly. There are a couple of issues where it's not always right, but that's really the big one that everyone's talking about. But what I want to broaden with this one is talking about the other much more minor versions of AI, because those are the ones that I think may become more relevant for surveying and geospatial professionals and anyone that works in mapping and modeling and construction or construction adjacent, anything with the real world. That includes the VLMs, which are vision language models. Those are often embedded into the main one. So if you've worked with ChatGPT, you might know that you can snap a photo and say, describe this to me. And it'll say, I see a picture of a surveyor with an instrument on a tripod making measurements of the ground. It can describe it very well, but still in terms of language. It still has this, you give it a photo and it describes in language, or the other way around, you say, make me a photo of XYZ, and it will make you that photo. It'll make you something that looks really cool. Those are vision language models that can see and describe images and bridge the gap between text and visuals. But weirdly, they actually are still really, really shockingly stupid at a lot of things. If you gave it a picture of a parking lot, which is, I work in aerial imagery, aerial photogrammetry. If you give it an image of an aerial parking lot and say, how many parking spots are there? It will be wrong. They're weirdly bad at counting. It's saying make this measurement. How large are these spots? Are these 10 feet wide, 20 feet wide, 50? Trying to make any sort of measurement or any sort of mapping or surveying or anything like that. Vision language models are terrible. It's a very unusual weakness. I'll get to in a little bit some of the strengths and weaknesses between these vision language models and that sort of thing. But that's why I bring up the third version here is computer vision and or object detection models. Now I'm bringing these up because even those of you that probably use AI a fair amount probably have not used computer vision or object detection models as much because they're way, way, way less popular. They're only kind of popular amongst a bunch of, technology geeks like me that really like working on the cutting edge of technology. And these are the ones that you've seen that you can feed it an image or a video, and it can actually isolate individual objects and draw boxes around them and say how confident it is in something like this. So these are much less common, but they are real. These are the ones that can actually start touching land surveying in a pretty meaningful way. I'll pause there and see if we've got any questions. And Trent, you're going to be there too. Let's see. Thank you for linking my presentation on Wednesday.
Yep, that's the one for Wednesday. But yeah, anybody can unmute themselves and chat away, please.
Yeah, because there's definitely there's plenty of confusion, hell, even within the industry of what each type of model is here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true story there. I know.
I'll speak up.
Oh, there you go, Jacob. Go for it.
I just got through a seminar with AI, and it was with Trimble's integration of smart learning and object detection. Are you going to dive into maybe some of what that might look like?
Not into Trimble's in particular, but I am going to dive into some object detection. We'll do some actual demonstrations here. I'll pull up. I don't know. And in fact, you know what? This is a great example of this stuff. Let me pull up. Close sidebar. Where's my thing? Hang on just a second. And I will share this screen. Here we go. I've got my ChatGPT up. This is this is a really simple thing to talk about with AI. If you're not using one of the major AI tools for basic search and questions, you are already starting to fall behind. It is so smart, like it's replacing Google. I can say, let's see, tell me briefly, Trimble's, what was it called? Just their object detection model?
Um, it's in Trimble Business Center, and it's uh, I'm drawing a blank, but
Similar,
yeah,
like,
I'll just
similar
ask a
to
question and
machine
we'll see.
learning
This
models.
is
It's their machine learning.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
their
machine.
machine
Yeah,
learning model.
they call it AI powered machine learning. So you have to train point clouds repetitively over and over and over again with a clean data set and a verification model for it to learn itself through it.
Aha.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, I thank you for telling me that. That's machine learning. That's slightly different than AI. Don't get me wrong, it's very smart, very capable, that sort of thing. Here's obviously a model of exactly how it's done, AI-driven tools for all of those things as part of reality capture. Automate segmenting and labeling point cloud data and extracting object attitudes. There you go. Deep learning, machine learning, rather than generic foundation models. So that's exactly, it's now, this is ChatGPT, which searched and read through all of the documentation about Trimble Business Center faster than I could. So it's a great example because this is one of those deep learning, machine learning models, not a true, what I would call the AI foundation model. I will be demonstrating an AI foundation model, not one of our own, because those take hundreds of billions of dollars to make, and maybe one of these days Aerotas will be that successful, but not. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar AI budget
Right.
yet.
Jacob, I want to jump in. Is that so? This one on their YouTube, Trimble YouTube channel, the next era of construction tech turning data into action with AI. It was 6 days ago. Is that it? You think?
That wasn't the one I watched,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's on the mark. Basically, we're training Trimble to learn
Oh,
from our point clouds and
yeah.
generate it into objects and line work that we can use for our data.
Okay. Yeah, that's what Rob was talking about. Okay, cool. I was looking to see
Yeah,
if there was on their YouTube channel so I could
Incredibly
share the link with
frustrating.
everybody. But yeah.
yeah.
This one
In
was,
my personal opinion, I haven't worked with Trimbles in particular, but I think I have a good idea of what it would be like. Um, it's probably still going to take a huge amount of time and effort and manual classification and fiddling with it to get the right data out of it. That is at least how most other machine learning things, you need a very skilled operator, and it isn't great at saving time or money because it's just not ultra precise.
And,
Um,
and I thought there was a number like 100,000 items or something that machine learning takes so many whatever tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of items to be able to learn that particular thing. I don't know if you know that data or not, but
Yeah, it's well, that's where you're actually starting to get into my world a little bit, which is
sorry,
statistics and
got
having
it.
like false positives and false negatives
Yeah,
and
yeah,
actually trying to identify everything properly. But the biggest challenge is whenever you have a machine learning data set, you are creating it just for yourself. You're using your data, but then you bring in a new project and that project is out of scope. It's not a generalizable model. That's actually one of the real challenges. So you can train machine learning perfectly on like the 10 sites that you did. You've got your verification, it works great. And then you bring in a new project and it's the winter, so it has snow. So the model gets confused and gets everything completely wrong because it wasn't trained on snow. So you retrain it on snow just in time for springtime to come, and everything has leaves and it blows up and everything breaks again. It works in a very narrow view. Whereas the promise of AI, actual AI, which again, well, heck, let's see how quickly I can do some of this demonstration. Can you guys see my screen right here with this with an aerial
yep, yep. You're still
thing?
strong. Yep.
Great. So this is an actual AI-based foundation object detection model. This is an open source one called Segment Any. It's called SAM3, Segment Anything Modeling 3, which was developed by Meta, the Facebook company of the parent company of Facebook.
Hmm.
And this is an actual like foundational model that should be generalizable across anything. So I can say find the trucks, and it selects the trucks. I can, well, pretty well. I can say detect parking spaces, and it highlights most of these parking spaces pretty well. But I will say, if you have an extremely close eye, you will notice it does some things that a human wouldn't, right? It maybe missed a spot on the left here. There are two parallel parking spots visible on the top that it missed. It didn't mark a parking spot underneath the actual trucks, something that a human would be able to do really quickly. So this is a very interesting model. I actually think this is fascinating because this required zero training. I could pull any photo that I want from it. And in fact, we can even say, let's see here. Let's go in and let me see if I've got a different photo that I think I have here. Here's just another one. Loading, loading. So the main difference between this model, which I would call an AI model, and the Trimble model, which other softwares have that as well. I know like Terrascan and Global Mapper, other point cloud softwares that have some other machine learning style ones. The main difference is that this is a, well, that this failed to upload media. That's the difference. This is a general AI model. It doesn't require any training. It's much broader. Its goal is to be much more scalable, that you can apply it to any project, anywhere, any site, any photo at any time. Except, of course, that it's glitching out on me because, of course, that's what happens on the first one. But to me, this is where a lot of the options are, that this photo, it's never seen this. It's never seen this training site before. And in this one, I can say, let's find the trucks, and it highlights a lot of them pretty well. Again, not absolutely everything, but that's pretty darn quick and requires no training. The goal of AI is to actually have software that can give some sort of generalizable intelligence and apply it to this, and hopefully in a way that is better, faster, and cheaper than humans, rather than requiring really, really, really expensive humans and a lot of time-consuming labor. So that's just kind of where it is. That's where we go back to this side, right? The machine learning versus artificial intelligence. That's a bit of a fuzzy line, but AI, that kind of more generalizable side, is I think what's getting everyone excited right now. That's certainly what's getting all of the venture capitalists to pour tons and tons of money into it. And then what Trimble does is they'll slap AI branding on it because they want to sell more of their Trimble Business Center software. They want to be as advanced as possible. And I get it. I don't judge them or blame them for that as well. But there is definitely, there are different tiers of who's actually in like the full AI level and who's in the kind of machine learning, clever algorithm style side. And part of what actually differentiates AI is there are really only four, I probably should have put up five. There are only five or so companies that are making the true, broad, scalable, what are called foundation level models. OpenAI with ChatGPT, which is the earliest, the biggest, the most well-funded at this point. They're kind of one of the best out there. Google has something called Gemini, which is absolutely excellent, really, really top tier model as well. XAI, formerly Twitter, this is Elon Musk's company. They have one called Grok. Grok is also very, very, very good. It's very good, especially at real-time data because of the way that it works with Twitter and X data, and it's much more conversational and much more willing to push the boundaries of, you know, what other OpenAI and Google might say, I think you might be trying to do something unethical. Like what OpenAI and Google will often, if you ask them like medical advice, they'll say, ooh, I can't give you medical advice. You should see a doctor. Whereas XAI is a little bit more, yeah, sure. Here's exactly how to, amputate a limb. Do whatever you want. That's just one of the almost political differences there between those. Anthropic is a company that most people have probably not heard of unless you are very much in the AI space. And their model called Claude, they are huge amongst software developers. Software developers love Anthropic and love Claude, especially a product called Claude Code for developing software. And then the fifth one that I probably should have put on this slide, but I didn't, is going to be Facebook's parent company, Meta. Meta is pouring a ton of money into all of this stuff. Right now, they don't, if I go back one slide, right now, Meta does not have a top tier, frontier level large language model. The other four do. The other, like all four of these, if you are using any one of these for just like general AI stuff, then you're using a cutting edge, like frontier model. ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, and Claude are all frontier models. The reason I didn't put Meta on here is because Meta does not have a frontier leading model when it comes to LLMs. They do have the frontier models when it comes to computer vision, which I find to be pretty fascinating, at least that, that's they've taken different approaches to the technology. So that's why this one that I'm doing right, that I demonstrated right here, is run by Meta. They have the most advanced object recognition computer vision AI model, but they don't have the leading language models. I'll pause again for questions to see if anyone has any thoughts on which of these models we're actually using.
No, yeah, Jeremiah threw in there. I've seen a bunch of rebranding where machine learning is now called AI. Not technically wrong, but it can be misleading. You think you're getting a VLM or an LLM, but you realize that you're not when you dig into it deeper. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It's a lot of rebranding, and of course, this is a super new technology, right? Like the idea of AI has been around for hundreds of years in sci-fi novels, right? Ever since the first sci-fi novel, people have thought about, what artificial intelligence means, and that's why the most recent boom is about LLMs, not machine learning. Machine learning has been around for a while. The reason it hasn't been called artificial intelligence is because it's machine learning gets applied in such a very narrow world. What category does Copilot fall under? That is an excellent, excellent question. Microsoft Copilot is AI, and they don't actually run their own model. Microsoft Copilot is OpenAI under the hood. And in fact, most AIs, when you see actual AI tools, are using one of these models kind of underneath. They're just rebranded. So if you go to a website, if you go to, any consumer product website and there's like a chat bot that you can talk to, it's like click this button and chat about our products, you're probably using one of these models. And so Microsoft is a part owner of OpenAI now. They have invested billions of dollars in OpenAI as part of a huge partnership there. So if you are chatting with Microsoft Copilot and their chat pilot, like all of that stuff, it is OpenAI under the hood. Same thing with a lot of these different things. There are different LLMs underneath. That's why I bring this up. These are, again, what are called and known as the foundation models. They're the foundation models because they power everything else. There are plenty of other tools that you use. So anything in Google's ecosystem is going to be Gemini. Anything in the Elon Musk world, whether it's the AI that powers Teslas and everything, those are all going to be kind of Grok underneath. And OpenAI is the biggest and definitely the most common. They're the largest of any of the other AI producers. But yeah, if you're using Microsoft Copilot, you're using an OpenAI foundation model under the hood at least. Moving forward a little bit, let's talk more about vision language models just briefly. Because vision language models, these are kind of that in-between one between the actual large language models and the computer vision. Pretty much all major AI companies now have VLMs integrated into their systems. That means if you go back to ChatGPT here, I can just say new chat and say, make me Make me a cartoon of a land surveyor trying to use a surveying tool in the snow as we approach winter and start doing all of our snow dances to get a little bit more snow. And it'll create this as part of its vision language model. It'll take probably about 30 seconds to a minute or so. So we'll come back. But all of these major AI companies have VLMs integrated in these systems. They are really good at describing images. Like I said, this is a construction site or something. However, these do not work for high precision mapping. As we get into the actual world of surveying, like these tools are really cool, but they're not good for mapping. They lack the spatial accuracy required for engineering grade deliverables and that sort of thing. Let's see. Still generating it. All of the compute power in the world can't make it go fast sometimes. So that's vision language models. The vision language models are really interesting with AI tools, in my opinion, because they can do really, really cool stuff. You can have it make a photo of just about anything. But again, they kind of lack logic. They're kind of dumb, right? Like it can make these photos, but it doesn't really understand what it's making. It's all kind of a statistical part of it. Maybe it's snowing so hard you can't see the surveyor. I like it. It's getting there. It's running a little slow today. And that's why, at least on the surveying side, when we're getting into the data of surveying, like the actual deliverable of surveying, right, which is mapping what's there, that's where computer vision and object detection is really what matters. These are distinct from LLMs and are an offshoot of traditional computer vision. Most of these vision models remain very experimental. This is what would actually really change the surveying profession in terms of the actual like core product and core work. But it's not, they remain experimental. They are much slower to develop than the large language models and even the vision models. That's where all the money is being poured. Computer vision and object detection is kind of like riding the coattails a little bit. They are primarily research products at this stage. We'll play around with it a little bit more. Meta's AI's SAM3, the segment anything model, is a leading example showing promise in identifying objects automatically, but practical application in surveying is still maturing. So this is my opinion on AI and actual surveying data. It's really cool, but it's not quite there yet. It's not 100% where you want it to be. So this is where I said, try it before. I can actually send out this link to that at the end. I'll share this link for the Meta AI demo, and you can play around with it. And you can see both the strengths and weaknesses. One of the biggest strengths with this, let's see if it still lets me prepare an image. The strength is that it's fully generalizable and like generally intelligent. It can work with an image with no training whatsoever. The weakness is that it's not perfect. Let's try sidewalks, assuming that we could overlay this on a point cloud and say, find the sidewalks. And it did pretty good. Considering how fast it is, right? It took a quarter of a second to identify all of the sidewalks. But if you look really closely, you can see that this sidewalk here is a little bit funky because of the shadows. It has some weird shapes to it. Some of these sidewalk lines are very jagged. If you actually tried to submit a line like that as proper line work in any survey, it would look horrible. I don't think any self-respecting surveyor would do this. It would look good for maybe a GIS map if you're trying to calculate it, or very, very rough estimates of the square footage of concrete. It might work, but even up here, you can see it stops at the shadow line. It's got some sidewalks missing around the edges. There are definitely some technological limitations of it. Let's see what else we can make it do.
But
Manholes.
Imagine where that's going to be in 18 months, right?
So that's what we're talking about is where will this be in 18 months? That's the huge, huge question.
Yeah.
And how much more can you train it? How much more can you train the general model to be able to start picking this up? So right now, for example, I typed in manholes and it just found 7 objects. Now, it may or may not have gotten everyone right, but this is oftentimes a good QA, QC. If you could automate this on a 100-acre project scale just to double check your employees' work or your own work to make sure you didn't miss anything, okay, now we're starting to see some value here. But it still isn't actually good enough for drafting, right? Like if you want to draw the circle perfectly around the manhole, it's not going to work that great. Let's see if we can just try one more of these. And if anyone else has any questions, heck, like I said, I'll share the link and we can.
I was gonna say, yeah, I threw it in the chat already. I was gonna tell Rob.
Oh, cool.
We did this huge scan of this 50-acre school. I was gonna say we need to load up that image. It's like, I don't know how many gigs, 1.5 gigs or something image.
Dude, I'm working in it right now still while I'm listening.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have to get you to share your screen in a second. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I've worked with plenty of those. Then the problem is that it's actually a great point of like, where is this data going to go?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
being able to run this analysis on 50 acres of ultra high resolution imagery, you can't just upload it to a web browser. You need special tools. You got to chunk it up. You have to tile it up. You have to give the same prompts, the same analysis, make sure it's consistent over the site. This is another paint stripes we can search for. There you go. Not bad at all. It has paint stripes, but if you were actually doing this as a survey or a surveyor, you would want the other crosswalk. It missed the second handicap crosswalk up here. A lot of these paint stripes that are very obvious that they would go all the way across, it split them into two. It's got a bunch of like really chunky things. It gets confused underneath trees, the ability to interpolate underneath trees. There's a lot of judgment in these models that, as brilliant as they are, they just lack the ability to draft line work perfectly. But this is where I think the most kind of exciting and interesting side of where AI can really start helping land surveyors in the core data side of things.
Jacob,
so I'll share this.
Jacob just threw a loaded question in the chat. Can it compare an image with a plat?
Nope.
Like, can we throw the image in and can we throw the plat in and make sure that all 7 manholes are in there and all 32 parking stripes?
Honestly, that's a cool idea.
It's
I would
coming.
love to see what it can do.
Maybe
it's coming, but that's going to require a lot of specialized software development before it can get there. Yeah.
Well,
So George comments, interesting how making surveying easier isn't necessarily easy. Nothing seems to be gained without some pain. Oh yeah, there's going to be an awful lot of pain. And in fact, this is so I should take another step back as I talk about AI because I am a huge proponent of AI. I am among the people that do think that this is one of the greatest technologies and most transformational technologies like since the Industrial Revolution, right? Since the internet era too. But much like the internet era, there are going to be so many failed companies and failed applications, right? Just look at all of the companies that were around in 1999. The internet's going to do X, Y, Z, and they all just failed miserably. And there was the dot-com bust, and everyone thought technology was going to go away. And there was that, it's almost like the famous J curve. There's all of this hype, and then it collapses, and then people realize what the actual promise is.
Yep.
AI is going to be that way for sure. It has unbelievable capabilities, but a lot of people are going to get overly excited. Some people are going to get hurt by it. So that's why it's part of why we're having this conversation is what's real and what isn't. And so right now, you want my professional opinion? I love this technology. It has a ways to go before it's useful. At least probably 12 months before we start seeing these models tweaked and refined and improved in ways that they're actually useful to surveyors.
But don't get left behind, right?
But don't get left behind. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So following up here a little bit, with language models, that's the current hype. That's where everything are. That's where Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or Anthropic, that's where the hype is. That's the insane progress where things are going. And this is where all the magic currently lives, right? And actually, this is the part where surveyors can start benefiting now. And I say now, not because they're going to perform the land survey for you, but it actually performs, it can help you on the margins in the same way that when I was just Googling for, not Googling, hell, I still use Google as a verb, even though I don't use Google as much anymore. I go to an AI tool before I go to Google 90% of the time now, personally. Because when I want to know about Trimble's new machine learning software, I go to ChatGPT or I go to Grok and I look for it there and say, read the documentation, read what other users have to say, and tell me about it. This is where you can actually, where I think everyone should be using AI every day just to start asking questions. Whereas vision models and these object detection models are incredibly cool, but you're like, my professional opinion, if you invest heavily in vision models right now, you are very likely to get burned. It's not going to actually provide an ROI. There's some really cool, fancy, flashy demos that can be done, but it's not providing a huge value yet. So where do in business applications, like away from the actual product for surveyors, where can AI tools provide a lot of value right now? Well, learning and answering questions. Search and coding assistance is actually another one too. We haven't talked about that here, but software development is the one field where AI is just taking over right now. And I mean, heck, I actually feel bad. There are a lot like kids that are graduating with a degree in computer science these days basically can't find a job because software development is just going completely the way of AI, and I think that's a good way. What that means for surveyors, the soft and coding assistant side, is that custom software is going to become more common. And surveyors use a lot of software that isn't, hugely marketable, right? No one's going to create the next version of Civil 3D and get 35 million daily active users. The market's just not that big, especially when we get into more bespoke point cloud management things, or when I have to work in PLS CAD or open roads or, insert whatever software you want. Those softwares are going to get better because the people developing them are using these tools, and that's a huge, huge benefit. AI can also really help people with copy editing. In fact, I should point out, most of this presentation was created by AI. The way that I did it, I actually wrote the framework. I wrote a lot of the bullet points and text, and then I threw it at Google's Gemini and said, turn this into a presentation. And it turned it into a presentation, and then I did a little bit more copy editing and on and on and on. And it didn't do it from scratch. I didn't say, hey, Google Gemini, I'm giving an hour-long presentation on AI. Make a presentation and then just walk away. It's not like I did zero prep for this.
No, of course.
But it probably saved me, maybe an hour in terms of just like making it look a little nice, aligning everything left to right. With my process for creating presentations, I start by writing and putting bullet points and then creating slides and then adding color and pictures. And it did a lot of that just kind of for me, which was kind of nice.
I want to go, so before you go too much farther on this particular page. So George threw in there, if I've properly trained my crews, I'm going to be trusting them more than AI until I'm able to develop confidence in it. And I want to bring this up, one, because we're dealing, and Rob's on here, but we're dealing with we're going to call him a subcontractor. And one of the codes on our survey data that we got back was, this is maybe Rob, you could chime in, but it's a 10-foot tall wall or a 10-foot wall, and this is as far as I'm going to shoot the wall, right? And so you can, even though you've properly trained them, at some point, George, they're going to get a little lazy.
That's as far as I'm going.
That's as far as I'm going. And so I only bring this up because we drone, and obviously companies are different at this point, right? But we hard shoot everything, we drone fly everything. Back to Logan's point, we could send it to Aerotas. We could send it to uh, whatever. What was the meta one?
Meta segment any SAM
segment
3.
anything, and define all the walls and define all these different things. But at some point, we can train the crews as much as we can, George, but they're still going to get lazy in the field and they're not going to pick up everything. They might going to, well, we've had a lot of issues lately where they shoot the rim, but they forget to shoot the invert. Obviously, AI is not going to shoot an invert, but, one of those type of things. So it's as Rob likes to say, it's belt and suspenders on all of this kind of stuff, right? Like all of these things we can start to upload into everything, and it turns into a belt and suspenders aspect of it because we can find things that were missed in a drone flight that weren't drawn or whatever, right? So George has
Yeah.
his hand up, so he wants to defend his he wants to defend his comment.
No,
No,
I'm not going to defend it.
Oh, I
I'm
know, yeah,
just going to expound on it a little bit.
yeah,
I have said for decades, probably 25 years, that we as licensed professionals do not spend the time in the field with our crews to
100%.
to tell them and show them what they need to get for us, and to demonstrate to them how important that information is. And I have a I've always had a great deal of trust in my crews because I've tried to spend as much time with them as I can. It wasn't near as much time as I should have, I will admit that. But
Yep.
I'm gonna have to say that, until there's something that absolutely tells me that I can absolutely trust AI, I'm not going to trust it for anything more than a check.
Yeah, yeah,
And and and
it's just
that's
a
our
legit.
job to do on everything, is
Yeah.
to check, because if we're not doing that, if we're not checking our crews, we're not checking our data, we're not checking everything we use, we're going to be in trouble at some point.
Yeah, and that's the great aspect of it as we get more tools in the toolbox, right? The drone is just another
Exactly.
tool in the toolbox, those kind of things, right? Um, and so you're able to, whether it's near map or all these different things that you can pull up, right? Like you can have an aerial view of something and you have that belt and suspenders aspect of it and see what was missed. But yeah, and George, I mean, I'm guilty. Rob's guilty. We're all guilty of not going out in the field enough, right, anymore. But we can do all of that, and the only reason I bring that up is we can do all of
We
that.
still get it.
And as soon as we walk away, they're going to take the shortcuts. So
Well, and I will say this: when I started surveying, we went out in the field with maybe an assessor's map and a record map if
yeah,
there was one,
yeah, yeah.
uh, or even better yet, a 7.5 minute quad to find section corners, uh, in rural Nevada,
George,
and
George going back 50 years.
at least. Uh, and we did all of that, and we did the best we could.
Yeah,
And the tools we have now are just
absolutely,
amazing. I can't
absolutely.
believe what we're able to put together to hand to a crew to go out and survey a simple residential lot.
That's the
Uh,
version. That's the version of AI, right? Like
and
all of the Google Earth tools that we get to use every day. Sorry, George, but
but that's
some type
the
of
scary
AI.
thing about that is we used to survey that lot. We used to start at that lot and go out.
Yeah,
Now we start out and
out
come
and go
in,
in. Yep,
and there's a huge difference in that process.
yep, yeah.
And it's actually scary for us that have done stuff 40 and 50 years ago that we stuck our name on, uh, because we, we were just out there kind of flailing around with very little information, and now we've got more, and that's a good thing. But we need to realize that we need to evaluate that information just as carefully as we can.
And on that, George, I don't want to take away from Logan's thing, but that goes back to following the footsteps, right? So you have that aspect of starting at the property and walking the footsteps and then working your way out, where now we start out and work in, and then and we've talked about this over the last 6 years on Mentoring Mondays about not walking the bounds anymore, right? Because we have GPS, we can just walk from point to point to point to point, and that may not necessarily be down the fence line anymore, as it was, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, those type of things, right? Until GPS was generated. So, we've made that point many, many times, and I wanted to bring that in back to an AI aspect, right? Because
Well, and
we're not walking those bounds anymore. So
that's part of the
yeah,
that's part of the process that where we can miss evidence that AI may or may not give us,
yeah,
and that's evidence that as surveyors we crucially need to pay attention to.
yeah. And
Come with my rant.
yeah, no, you're good. It was perfect. And Logan, part of that as well. We've been dealing. So I talk about this particular survey, not the one that I was asking Rob about, but we're dealing with some other issues, where some of the things are being drawn by drones and never on the ground, right? Um, I know the new 2026 ALTA standards are going to kind of address that a little bit with drone surveying and drafting things off of drones. But it's leading into a lot, probably more of your presentation coming up or not. But for feedback, these are things that we're starting to run into. Jeremiah, before we let Logan turn loose again, Jeremiah, go for it.
I was just enjoying that new Trimble instrument in the cartoon. I've never seen an optic that went off 90 degrees from
Right?
yeah.
It's so advanced you can't even put it on a tripod. It needs 4 legs.
And 4 legs. I missed the four
That's
legs.
yeah.
That's awesome.
The T4 has a side eyepiece like that.
Like a fake 90-degree Leica's got.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at the perspective here, and that I'm afraid he's going to jostle that quad pod.
The quad pod. Yes, I
Quad
love it.
pod. I love that. I did miss the 4 legs. That is amazing.
I actually love that. In a weird way, this is such a perfect example of
It is.
AI. Like, for as incredible as it is, it's like it drew this cartoon. Like, even a professional cartoonist, it would take this half an hour for them to draw something fun like this. And so, in one sense, it's incredible. In the other sense, it does some really dumb things. It drew 4 legs. It has a
Yeah.
90-degree optic. Like, what the heck?
And we've
This
had
is some of the basic stuff.
and we've had tripods since the day surveying was invented. So
And Topcon's going to be mad because it's their instrument.
is that Topcon or Nikon? No.
Well, one of the two. I don't know. The ones I always use were green.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly all right. No,
That is
I
awesome,
actually
Logan.
love all of this. It's such a good yes, this is valuable for me too, but it's a good discussion of, where the heck AI is actually going to go. Especially in surveying, quite frankly, AI is not replacing surveying jobs anytime soon. Land surveying.
It can't resolve it can't resolve a boundary. It can't resolve a boundary dispute. I know Mr. Stahl's on here. It can't mediate a boundary dispute. So yeah.
It can't walk out into the field with a magnetic detector to actually find a buried old boundary or old nail or research old physical paper records. Land surveyors, particularly anyone that works in the field, is very, very, very safe because, so this is why I have this chart. AI is really good at answering questions, coding, even copy editing, summarizing it. We use it. I know I saw there's, AI is transcribing what we write and we'll put this whole presentation into a 2-paragraph summary, and it'll do actually a pretty damn good job of it. AI is great at that. But things that AI sucks at least for now, include asking insightful questions, complex business judgment. That's actually one of the biggest things that is really, really important, is using judgment. People are still so much better at things that require judgment than AI. Good nuanced writing and actually analyzing websites and pictures. Again, I love stuff like this. Having it generate photos is really good for like the for a demo, the ooh, wow, look at what AI can do. But whenever you look closely, if you look at stuff like this, you can like spot the nonsensical things that are signs of like, yep, that's totally AI generated. It's not great at it for right now. Or the way that I like to think of it, AI is a PhD level genius at every topic imaginable, but with absolutely zero common sense. That's the way that I think about it, because you truly can ask it PhD level science questions, and it has more knowledge than any single human being alive today by a wide margin. They've already done, these tests with different academics and stuff. An AI model is unbelievably intelligent, but the lack of common sense is staggering. To be clear, there are aspects where that's a good thing. When you are actually working in software development, there are times when you say, no, 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 just write the code. My job is to use the common sense, make the judgment. Your job is to write the code. Go do it. Or there are times when, like, if you are having a tech support chatbot, if you are working in Civil 3D and you're like, I'm spending the last hour doing exactly this, go over to ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, is there any better way in Civil 3D, I'm using Civil 3D version 2026, that I can more quickly convert a huge bunch of objects into like AEC objects? Or what is an AEC object? How do I manipulate a surface better? What is the best way to adjust it, this point, this color, this layer template using this software? You can ask it any of those questions, and it's way faster than Googling. It knows so much more. It can research the documentation, but it still has zero common sense and sometimes can point you down the wrong road. So always trust but verify, but it can still make your world a little bit easier. So let's talk a little bit more about AI and mapping and surveying. So like we just talked about, and in my opinion, AI is just not close to replacing people in the field. AI cannot carry equipment, cannot set up a new tripod or quad pod or whatever it may be. And likewise, AI cannot yet do line work drafting very well at all. It can help with object detection. It can help with some 3D point cloud classification or image recognition analysis. It can help a little bit, but it really can't do line work drafting very well, at least not yet. Maybe it will be able to in the next 12 to 18 months or so, but from what I know about the underlying fundamentals of how AI technology works, I wouldn't count on that actually changing in the next year or two. In the next 5, maybe, but it could take a little while. So while demo applications on the actual survey side, like the segment anything model, are super cool, I don't think they're production ready. AI, the way that most of us will see AI in the next couple of years, and the way that you should be using it, is asking basic questions, using it for things like search or copy editing your documents, as well as improving the software that you already use. All of us that work in the office a lot will use a whole litany of different software suites. I can guarantee Trimble Business Center uses AI when writing a lot of their software. It's powered by AI because they used AI to make the software, even if the software itself isn't AI. So that's one thing. So I would say, expect new, better, and cheaper versions of CAD and drafting software. I'll actually use this as a little plug. So we are in the development of a new type of GNSS post-processing that we call ATK. We put out a blog post on it that we can put out. It's something that on the statistics side of GNSS post-processing that we've really started kind of pushing the limits of what we can do. And we are developing the software that runs ATK using AI. Aerotas ATK, this specific blend of GNSS post-processing that we've been doing, is not AI by itself. It's not like you take the Rhinex data and run it through ChatGPT or anything like that. But rather, Aerotas ATK is a software that is written using AI because we can actually combine the PhD level reports. I can tell you, it's actually like some of the foundation from this is a bunch of PhDs wrote reports on new and novel ways to process multi-constellation satellite data. So high resolution, high time frequency, 5 times per second multi-constellation, which means it has to use GPS, GLONASS, Baidu, and
Galileo.
There we go. Thank you.
Yep.
Combining all four of those, so you have 30 satellites typically for every observation, 5 observations a second with precise ephemeris data. It's a variant of precise point positioning. It's a type of kinematic precise point positioning supplemented by public base stations. Really cool processing. The reason I bring that up is not to brag. Well, it's a little bit to brag. I think we've developed some really cool software. Expect more announcements on that in Q1. It's extremely cool, like cutting edge. We would not have had the ability to fund this without AI software, because we wouldn't, like, the cost of developing just the software on side of this, it's already very expensive for us, but we would have had to hire a couple of full-time software developers to build this software. And that's just not an investment that level, among all the other things that we do here. We wouldn't want to throw an extra couple $100,000 into software developers for what for a while was a very experimental GNSS post-processing technique. And with AI tools, we've actually been able to develop it and start using it internally and deploying it on projects and proving it out at such a lower cost. And the result to you guys as surveyors is that you are all of our clients already secretly have access to ATK because we use it on projects that have any sort of GNSS issues. But all surveyors will get more access to it in the future because we have the ability to develop software like this. So better software across the board, more custom software, more highly developed software for more niche applications. That's one big thing where AI is definitely going to be used a lot.
And make sure you check out. So I just threw it up there. It's October 15th of 2025. That was Logan and Aerotas's blog date of the ATK. So go to Aerotas's website, click on blog, and then you can kind of search all of those. But yeah, I'm assuming probably a webinar in Q1 then?
Yes, probably a webinar in Q1. We've got lots of product announcements as we're going through our kind of 2026 strategic planning, trying to figure out exactly where we want to put all of our resources, what we want to develop. But I mean, I actually love it, right? Like this is a little bit of a sales pitch, which thank you, Trent. But like, sincerely for me, I love the technology. I love that using AI tools, we can push the limits of what is possible in a way that we couldn't before. I mean, my vision for Aerotas, ever since we've been around for 11 years, which obviously in the world of surveying, 11 years isn't that long. In the world of drones, that's forever. We're like one of the oldest drone companies out there. And our vision when this all started was to take this awesome new technology like drones, but actually make it more accessible. You shouldn't need to spend $1 million to be able to buy a drone and figure out how it works, and then hire a photogrammetrist, and then buy a $10,000 computer and a $5,000 software, and then spend 8 hours trying to learn all of this. Like, no. We want to make it more accessible and bring it to other businesses. That's what we did. That's what we are doing. And we want to do this with AI too. And I love it because we literally can take these, like the true cutting edge of technology, whether it's on ATK and GNSS post-processing. We've got a lot more coming out on LiDAR post-processing too, and how to process new LiDAR, how to manage huge amounts of data and making it accessible. And I mean, honestly, bringing it to the broader surveying community too, so that you guys can all do more business. I love the technology, but the real end result is that of what we do is that it makes your job better. Because I've also noticed there is a real challenge in land surveying right now, that there is a much greater demand for surveying than there are surveyors to supply that. 100%. And it leads to some really interesting challenges. There are a lot of engineers that are just saying, well, screw it. We'll go around surveyors, even if they're not legally allowed to. We've seen it happen and we don't like that. Or,
that ends up in board complaints.
It does, but don't pretend it doesn't happen.
No, I know. Yeah.
Whereas my belief is if we use this technology, we can get the engineers to love the surveyors again. I actually think that's where we should be trying to use this technology that we have access to make it better, faster, and cheaper, right? That is what integrating all of this does. And that's what protects the industry as a whole. And selfishly, it drives the nation forward too. We want to build more stuff, or I certainly want to build more stuff. And the way to do that is not to say, I've got an 8-month backlog. It's to say, all right, how do we do this tomorrow? You want a data center and you need this corridor surveyed in the next week. Let's use technology and let's figure it out how to make it get it done better and faster. That helps us as businesses. That helps our country. I truly get optimistic about all of this stuff. But in order to do it, we've got to embrace how we use this technology to grow surveying, knowing that there is more demand for surveying than there are surveyors to fill it right now. So the way to bridge that gap is with technology.
And the cliff is coming. And there's a bigger cliff coming in 5 years.
That's been Trent and I's concern for quite a while.
That's right.
How do we get this younger generation interested in all this doggone awesome technology that we've got? What the heck is going on? I mean, they're into remote control cars, they're into drones, they're into everything, but they're not getting into surveying fast enough. And, us old guys are aging out and leaving faster than these young guys are coming in, for sure.
Well, we need Logan in the forefront with his energy.
Well, if you want to know a challenge of mine, if you've got me fired up with all of this, I'm not a licensed surveyor. I looked into it. I would actually like to be, despite the fact that I have effectively worked in survey for about 11 years. I am nowhere close to having the ability to even sit for the land surveyor in training exam or to become a licensed surveyor, despite the fact that I've been a photogrammetrist for 11 years. I've processed we're coming 50,000 different survey data sets. I've worked in all 50 states, and I'm not close to being able to be licensed because the rules are not designed to encourage young people to become surveyors in a lot of ways. They're very protectionist. There are a lot of you must apprentice in this particular way. I've got a number of gripes with it because I would love to become a licensed surveyor, but I'm not going to shut down Aerotas for 2 or 3 years to go back, even though, again, I've processed more GNSS data than most surveyors. Yeah. Than most surveyors, and the level of detail in which I've gone through it is something.
Logan,
something.
I would encourage you. I would encourage you to go sit down with the local board in your state or in a state that you want to become licensed in and talk to them about what they think you might need to do to meet the qualifications to sit the exams and pass them, because you obviously know what the heck's going on.
More than surveyors sometimes.
More than a lot of us, yeah.
Yes.
And we just did this with a young lady that I was working with, and she's now become one of the youngest female land surveyors and engineers dual licensed in the state of Nevada. And I was just happy to have had the opportunity to work with her and mentor her on a very, very minor level. But she's awesome. I mean, and she's an example of what can be done. We went and sat down with the board and said, hey, she's already passed her PE. She's got a degree in engineering. What does she need to do to get licensed as a land surveyor? And they sat down and they mapped out a course of a list of courses that she needed to take to satisfy them. She sat down and took the exams, and I mean, the exams were a piece of cake for her. They're not as hard as you think.
Oh, I'm not worried. To be clear, I'm not worried about the exams. Quite frankly, I love exams. I think that's a great way to separate it. I'm worried that they would say you have to go back and get, and that's actually one of the big things. I don't have a degree in engineering. My degree is in statistics and business and finance. So I'm.
But you have the math degree, so that's the.
Yes, that's a good part of it.
But it doesn't quite. I
like. We can sidebar this whole conversation.
But the idea, what I would just generally say is most states make it harder than I think it should be, because it's not just about competence and knowledge. It's about, especially the states that require apprenticeships specifically, that you must apprentice under that specific state surveyor. It doesn't transfer over from state to state. There's some other very protectionist things that really discourage young people.
Yeah.
That's a problem we're hopefully working on a national level is getting some kind of national reciprocity set up so that if you're licensed in one state, you don't have to go and start from scratch in state number 2 and state number 3. Yeah, I mean, Nevada stuff, we require a 4-year degree, supposedly.
Yes.
Well, we do.
We do. Yes. There's a gray area.
Do.
Yes.
But your comment about having a degree in degree in statistics would put you in a good position.
That's right.
And so, like I say, it begs the question. Just go sit down and ask the question. Spend an hour.
Yeah.
Because you may find out you're way farther along on the trail than you think.
Yep. Probably should do that.
Yeah, right.
But so that was quite a digression from AI, at least. The point
Sorry,
is,
Logan.
no, that's totally good. I actually love these. Those are
I know.
conversations like that are honestly so important to the industry, and I actually do really care about it. I've spent the last 11 years basically working in survey.
Yeah.
I clearly like this industry and have gained a heck of a lot of knowledge from everyone around here. So there you go. All right, let's go. We got a question in here. Hunter asks, in your experience, are you seeing a lot of companies overselling the ability of AI and machine learning models? Yes, massively, hugely, unbelievably oversold. Everyone wants to catch in on this and use it as marketing and hype. There is so much snake oil out there. Again, I think AI is real, but there is an awful lot of snake oil here.
So I'll share probably the more concerning one of the four. So, WSP is a big engineering firm. It's an international firm. So, of all the survey work that the company does, our department can only handle maybe 10%, right? So most goes to other surveyors. So a lot of what I do is getting involved with the other surveyors that are subbing. So I won't name the firm, but there was a company from overseas. I believe they were headquartered out of Israel. So they came in and they pitched this really cool thing, right? So they, sold our engineers on, they can, basically use AI to generate this full 3D model of all of New York City, including the 5 boroughs. And it was going to absorb, all these municipal GIS layers and lay that on top of the 3D model. It all sounded very cool, right? And they basically presented, it basically looked like, Google 3D, but on steroids. And I asked a very simple question. I said, okay, this is cool. So, where does the data set come from? Are you guys flying it, with LiDAR? How are you collecting this data to build this 3D model, right? And, the short answer was they said that, yeah, they basically do arrange some type of flight themselves, but they also import a lot of imagery from other sources that they get for free. And I grilled them and eventually the guy admitted, no, they haven't really flown, recently, and that they pulled images from Nearmap that they downloaded, and they were able to get that to process into the point cloud. And then I asked them about control. And the reason I bring this up is earlier on in their presentation, they talked about this whole thing being survey accurate, right? Which is a kind of a dangerous word to throw around, right? It can have different meanings for different people. But as surveyors, survey accurate has a very real meaning to it. And so they were selling this whole model as being survey accurate. And I said, okay, well, where does all the control come from that you use to process the imagery? And he talked about some free data source that supposedly has aerial pick points with some coordinates. And I kind of grilled them on that, and they had zero answer whatsoever where, the source of this control came from, how much there was. He eventually admitted to, for all of New York City, they had a grand total of about 10 control points that they used. And to them, survey accurate meant 10 meters plus or minus, right? And it's kind of like, again, these individuals from this company, none of them were surveyors. Right, they're coming in, they're pitching this as the end all be all, survey accurate 3D model of the whole city. But the whole thing is kind of a facade. It was kind of flashy, but there was nothing real behind it. So I'm just curious, again, you've kind of already answered me, but how much of this are you seeing? Is there any steps being taken that you've seen from the survey industry to sort of place some bumper rails on this whole thing to kind of keep these non-survey companies with no background, no knowledge, not even bringing in subs to support them, who are kind of coming out of nowhere from just the tech industry and kind of pitching this stuff?
Yeah. And so the answer is yes. There are a huge number of people coming in with absolutely no experience, and it's causing real problems. And that's on the AI side. And actually, I fought against this heavily. This was 10 years ago on the drone side, where, a software like Pix4D, the photogrammetry engine, had just come out, and so many people were buying $1,000 drones, flying it with photos and uploading it to Drone Deploy or using Pix4D and saying, boom, look, I've got a survey accurate ortho photo because the image, like, look at how great the images are. And sure enough, the data was crap, right? Like, they would have to bring in a company like Aerotas because they trust this drone service provider that said it was survey accurate. It's off by a foot over a 100-acre site. All of a sudden, you have 100,000 cubic yards of dirt that's completely wrong, and like the whole project was just totally screwed. And so what you saw was the survey world started cracking down a lot on photogrammetry and unlicensed photogrammetrists or unlicensed surveyors using data, not sure how to check it. That's actually, selfishly, it's one of the things that Aerotas did really, really well, is showing that, like, yeah, not only do we have good accuracy, we're going to prove it and we're going to do it responsibly and actually help bring this technology into a respectable place in the industry. And AI is going to be that way too. There's a lot of junk out there, but there's a lot of junk data. The word survey accurate, I hate it because what the hell is survey accurate, right? If there is a survey and the survey says, this was surveyed using XYZ technology and the accuracy is a root mean squared error of 3 feet. Well, in a sense, that's survey accurate, 3 feet, because it's stated 3 feet. You know the limitations of the data, right? Like there's NASA had they used a space shuttle mission to do a topographic map of the entire United States. And in a sense, it's survey grade accurate because they know that it's exactly accurate to like 10 feet or something. Obviously, that's not what we would consider survey grade accurate, but what is then survey grade accurate for us? Is it a tenth of a foot? Is it 3/100ths of a foot? Like if you get an Opus solution and that has a root mean squared error of 5/100ths of a foot, is that good enough? Or do you need to actually bring in a total station to get a precision down to 2/100ths of a foot or something like that? Survey grade, it's a very nuanced question. So are survey groups pushing back, survey boards? Yes, but I don't think in the right way because they're pushing back but not allowing the alternative. And this is, again, where kind of my frustration comes in. The alternative is like, let a company, I'm going to be, a little obnoxious here. Like, I want to scale our what we do a lot more, but it's really hard because, saying, oh, we're 100% GNSS. Like if we wanted to do a survey with just drones and some ground data, Opus solution on the ground, do all of this, like there are ways to scale survey technology, and the surveying boards aren't really allowing the new technology fast enough, in my personal opinion. That
no rules for tools.
What was that?
No rules for tools. That's what it is.
So yeah.
No rules for tools.
So in this whole vein of things, and I know, so we started flying drones here at Diamondback, I don't know, Trent, probably 9, 10 years ago. And in the beginning, everyone was like, "Oh, this is easy mode. This all looks good." We had people try to sell us the service to us as surveyors, and I think, like you said, the UAV and whatnot, that whole side of things, that's still a big part of our workflow. But we've got a workflow down where we trust it, and I think by and large, a lot of people have realized that there's a lot of snake oil out there. Surveyors really are the best professionals for it in most cases, ground control, data processing, whatnot, the QA/QC side of it. And one of the big things, and part of Hunter's question was about the pushback on it. And I've kind of landed myself in a weird spot now where I'm running around with an X9 terrestrial scanner and a Navis, and we're doing a lot of heavy duty 3D scanning. Never thought we'd be doing it. Here we are. And I think the one biggest problem is the people pushing the software, uh, either the salespeople on, on LinkedIn, we all get the messages, or people creating nothing but showcase models, which not real world data. They put these numbers out there and they have a lot of zeros in them, and the numbers are really, really, really small. And people think those are, precisions and accuracies and, what you're going to get as far as real world results. And they don't understand that a lot of that time, that's the data relative to itself and the model that builds it and stretches it and constrains it to your control. So to Hunter, I think, and I know one of the things that I always do when I present anything on any sort of high tech data, scanning, whatever, one of the first things I tell them is it starts and it ends with the survey control. And if the survey data isn't good, nothing else will be good no matter what they say. And you still have to come back, make checks, do redundant measurements on things you can easily go back to and say, hey, I don't care what the scanner says, I know the building's here, right? Or the finished floor is X, Y, and Z. And I think from our side of things, because this is like you said, with the survey board, this is a weird gray area where they don't regulate, for example, 3D scanning in the same way. And I've always said we need to have some sort of standard for this or certification for this, because if we're just creating a bunch of data, if you're running around with a SLAM system and you end up with 2 feet of drift at the end of your job and there's no survey control to check it, someone's going to foot a really big bill and it makes us all look dumb. So I think it's our responsibility for sure to be the ones out there saying, hold up, just like we did with all the drone guys in the very beginning. Hold on, you don't know what you don't know and you're dangerous, and educate them, and then kind of try to bring them alongside and say, hey, we can work adjacent to one another to solve these problems rather than, beating them over the head and trying to kick them out.
I totally agree. And so, yes, 100% I agree with you. And the way to do that is to make surveying more accessible. That's where I was going at. And again, like, I know this is crazy. The reason people are walking around with those handheld SLAM scanners and getting 2 feet of drift is because they call the local surveyor and they say they're booked for 8 months.
Yep.
And so they look for other ways around it. I've talked to too damn many engineers that hate their surveyors and begrudgingly hire a surveyor because they know they legally have to. And it doesn't have to be this way. And this is the plug for Aerotas. This is why we exist, right? Like, if you have more clients, hire Aerotas. We will help you scale like crazy by helping you apply AI in smart ways, by keeping surveyors in the loop, by getting you to process more data faster and better than before. And the surveyors that use us, their engineers love us because they don't just get a map. They get all of this extra data. They get this rich real-time imagery. They get visual abilities to do it. So yes, everyone should do it. First CEO and wound up crashing a drone into a tree. Boy, I saw a lot of that in the early days. Well, even nowadays.
Yeah, and then Rob just threw in there, I crashed our Phantom 4 into a light pole on the highway.
Should have been flying higher, Trent.
Yes,
My
exactly.
poles aren't that tall.
Exactly.
Sport mode.
That's right. Sport mode will get you in trouble every time.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to keep people on, so let me just wrap
Oh,
up
you're
with
doing amazing.
a few last things. So for starters, though, to just bring it all back to AI too, number one, land surveying as a profession is not a threat from AI directly. Land surveyors, like, this as an industry is not one of those ones like computer coding, or, if you work in customer support, like on the phone, or if you are just a professional driver, your job is at risk. If you're a land surveyor, you're in really good shape. Field employees and experienced professionals, absolutely safe. I think there's negligible risk to that as a career or profession in the next 5 to 10 years. Administrative roles and low-level computer-only tasks might be at risk. If you are in the field or an experienced professional, you're fine. If all you do is work on billing, well, there's a good chance AI is going to help automate an awful lot of that as far as where these roles go. But AI will help surveyors become more efficient with their equipment and software, just from asking questions, working with it. I think that everyone should do it. But my advice, the best way to know the potential is to play with it and learn it yourself. One of the things that I do at Aerotas with all of our employees, every single one of them has access to these foundation LLM models. And I encourage my employees to use it for completely non-work purposes. Use it to make silly photos to send to your wife. Use it to have like write a story for your kids. Use it to ask about, what's this weird thing that's growing on my leg and should I see a doctor about it? And I tell my people that is what will help you learn what AI is really good at and what it's terrible at. Because AI is incredibly smart at some things and weirdly stupid at others. It feels like a human sometimes, except when it doesn't. The technology itself is absolutely transformative. It's going to come more and more and more. So my encouragement, just use those LLMs a lot. As far as those vision models, those computer learning ones, at Aerotas, we're researching. You can talk to us. We would always be happy to do it. And my last plug, Trent, here is this. I would really appreciate your feedback. If you go to this website, aerotas.com/mm25 mentoring Mondays 25, there's just a little form. I would love to hear your feedback of how I could make it better. If there are questions I missed, if you have anything you want to talk to, and of course, if you want to work with Aerotas and maybe help make sure that your customers like you more and that you can scale, that's what we're here to do as well for all things aerial survey. That's what Aerotas can help with. So I would really appreciate that. And with that, Trent, I think we have reached the end of my little presentation.
I know you did amazing. Look, right, interactive. We kept it interactive as much as we could, but I threw it in the chat so you could do the feedback form. But we kept it going. Hopefully, we can, like you said, you can build on this a little bit more, and it's going to be ever changing, as we know.
Oh yes.
Yeah, as it already has in the last 18 to couple of years of this. And I can never dismiss your energy. It's always amazing. I love the energy. And I think, as we go forward, I think things will change faster. I'd like to see, I do know, so you want to talk about just real quick your ground control points? I know, and maybe you can share your screen or I can share your screen, but you provide these for the drone guys as well. So
for the drone guys. Oh my gosh.
That's a little bit of AI in there, and they'd be able to pick up those colors and
no, that's not AI. That's just good old fashioned eyeballs are good.
No, I know, but it's still you probably did machine learning so it could pick it up.
We do a little bit of that actually. Yes. It has AI and some machine learning has cut down on the amount of time we mark ground control points.
Yeah, see. There you go.
What is it? I forget. I did the math. How many millions of photos we have? How many millions of ground control marks we've made as a company over the last 10 years? It's like a staggering number.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I actually put a thing on the form. What I'd say, if you're interested in either helping Aerotas or working with us, fill out that form here. We've got questions. Part of it is that, well, anyone that works in surveying knows that survey is complicated. Not everyone has the same problems. Not everyone has the same education. If you want to learn more about aerial surveying, just schedule a talk. Honestly, I didn't put it up here, but I can put it in the chat. My personal email.
Yep.
Send it. Logan at aerotas.com. Send me an email. I'm happy to have just a 30-minute conversation with absolutely anyone here. And we can just chat about what you're doing, how Aerotas may or may not be able to help. I am probably to my own detriment. I am not a pushy salesperson. My goal is actually helping other people.
Absolutely.
And we could probably actually close a hell of a lot more sales if I was really pushy about, I won't chat with you unless you put a deposit. But no, that's not the case.
No.
I like this industry. I like the technology. And my sales pitch is this. I think that all of the people that work here are so damn competent and good at what they do that if you work with us once, you will say, wow, I don't want to do this anymore at all. I want Aerotas and Logan and his team to actually work on this data because we are professionals. We bring the most cutting edge technology along with some real scalability and a very high level of professionalism to really new technology, to aerial surveying. So
yeah, I know And and my plug, right? I know when we first found you, like you said, 10 plus years ago, like we did some stuff together early on, and then we kind of learned our way of Pix 40 and those kind of things. But we've gone back a couple of times, even since we've done our own learning things. And so yeah, it's been a minute or two since we worked together, but I I always I love your product, and I love everything you do for the profession. So do you have your conference? I know you're coming to Westfed in
Yep,
March.
coming to West Bend
I
March.
know you're doing a couple things. Are you going anywhere else? Where other conferences? Are you going probably
Oh
going to Washington, probably, right?
boy, I don't even remember.
Okay. All right. Well, I was trying to give you a plug for your conference.
I appreciate that.
That's all
Show
right.
up to your land surveying conference, and I
There you
may or
go.
may not be going there.
That's the best part.
Um,
There you go.
yeah, right. Like I'm booked at a few. If I'm being honest, during Q1 when most states have their surveying conferences,
You're going to be
I'm
busy.
on the road a lot, but I don't do every state every year because that's a bit much for me.
Yeah. No, I know. I know you're 18th to the 21st March in Las Vegas. I do know that. So
I will be there.
I know. I love it. Awesome. Anybody got anything else? Um, Anything? A couple of thank yous in there as well. So, as always, Logan, we're all going to drink a couple monsters tonight to keep up with your energy.
There you go. Trent,
Heck
thank you for having me. I
yeah, thanks,
appreciate it.
Logan. Yep. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks all.
Bye, guys.